is Friday, October 30. Welcome to CGN News. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has praised leaders within the Caribbean community, CARICOM, for their leadership in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. This as they confront shocks to their economies, the tourism sector, trade and remittances. The Secretary General was addressing a virtual meeting of the regional body on Thursday. The UN chief stated that the pandemic's socio-economic impacts have been worse than the virus itself for some developing economies, including the Caribbean. He highlighted his push for a relief package as well as an appeal for debt relief. Prime Minister of Jamaica Andrew Holness says the government is examining measures that will enable fast food and restaurant operators to provide services during nightly curfew. Addressing a digital press conference, Holness said the government has noted the concerns being raised by operators of the quick service industry and the restaurant and beverage industry. He said once these measures are finalized next month, they will assist the industry in recovering even more. Island-wide curfews run from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily. The government of Bahamas has announced a slight relaxation in COVID-19 rules. However, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis told Bahamians to get used to cycles that involve tightening and loosening of restrictions. Minnis made the announcement on Wednesday, days before the territory welcomes visitors and returning residents without requiring that they quarantine for 14 days. The Prime Minister said that beaches and parks will reopen starting Monday, but there was no time frame for when the state of emergency will end. Minnis, who is a medical doctor, warned that the pandemic is far from over. People who breach home isolation regulations in the Cayman Islands will face a fine of $10,000 and up to 2 years in prison under new amendments to the public health law. Under Cayman's border reopening plans, approved travelers have the option of isolating at their homes once their residences are cleared by the government. As part of the agreement to home quarantine, travelers have to wear an electronic monitoring wristband. Additionally, a continuing offense after conviction incurs a fine of $500 for each day of infraction. Award-winning Gleaner journalist Janet Silvera will be an international observer in the United States presidential election slated for Tuesday, November 3. Silvera, who is also the president of the Montego Bay Chamber of Commerce, is a guest of Democracy Win and the only Caribbean member of the 21-person delegation. The group has been invited to observe what many are predicting will be the most consequential election in modern times between Republican President Donald Trump and Democratic challenger Joe Biden. The delegation comprises representatives from the United States, Mexico, Jamaica, Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, and Ecuador. The French city of Nice is now in mourning for the 3 people stabbed to death in a church attack. A makeshift memorial has been set up outside the Notre Dame Basilica, where people have placed flowers and lit candles for the victims. French President Emmanuel Macron said Thursday's stabbing were an Islamic terrorist attack. Security has since been stepped up at places of worship and schools after 2 similar attacks within 2 weeks. In the first incident, a teacher was beheaded after showing controversial cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad to some of his pupils. Macron's subsequent defense of the right to publish the cartoons has stoked anger in several Muslim-majority countries. Walmart has removed guns from display in thousands of its stores in the United States, citing concerns of civil unrest. But customers will still be able to buy guns and ammunition on request. Walmart sells firearms in around half of its 4,700 stores in the United States. The decision comes after a fatal police shooting in Philadelphia triggered protests that saw some shops looted. The family of Walter Wallace Jr., an African-American, says he was suffering a mental health crisis when officers opened fire on him. Police say they shot him because he would not drop a knife. Fans living in Japan who bought tickets for the postponed Tokyo Olympics have been guaranteed refunds, the local organizing committee said Friday. This does not apply to fans who have purchased tickets outside Japan through so-called authorized ticket resellers appointed by national Olympic committees. Persons who already know they cannot use their tickets next year can get their money back by applying online for refunds during the period November 10 to 30. The Paralympic period is December 1 to 21. Organizers also said that refunds would be made if limited seating were available at venues because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister of Foreign Affairs Kamina Johnson-Smith says that the United States ambassador to Jamaica has promised that the insulting back and forth between him and Jamaican Twitter users will not reoccur. On Tuesday, Donald Tapia engaged in heated exchange on Twitter with Jamaican users. It all started when Tapia posted a link to an interview in which he warned the government against implementing the controversial 5G technology made by Chinese firms Huawei and ZTE. Several Jamaican Twitter users called out Tapia for his interference in the government's affairs, and he responded cheekily every time. One person asked, quote, "Anyone afraid to tell Tapia to mind his own business, or are they afraid to lose their visas?" End quote. Tapia responded, quote, "You must have been turned down. Sounds like you're afraid," end quote. When the ambassador was reminded of a recent report that U.S. President Donald Trump has dealings with a Chinese bank, Tapia replied, quote, "Too much ganja." The U.S. Embassy in Kingston and Tapia have yet to publicly comment on the inappropriateness of the tweets, which have now been deleted. Johnson-Smith tweeted on Thursday that she had spoken to the U.S. diplomat, who acknowledged that the engagement was not appropriate. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.